So what we're gonna be doing here is creating a Spring Boot application for a binary search tree that is also loading the records from the database. So once the application starts, it loads what's in the database to the binary search tree, and then you can query or add to the binary search tree and so on. So we have here entity controller, repository, service, and so on. And as they say here, on the startup, we load records from the database to start. And then we create on a new project, and we choose the Spring Boot project as we are creating a Spring Boot here. And then we enter the metadata, and then we choose the Spring version, and we add the dependency. In our case here, it's going to be web and H2 and JPA. And after that, we click on create project, and this will land us on the diagram page. And you can see on the left side here, there is multiple icons. This represents all the classes or possible types that you can do in Spring Boot. For example, repository, entity, controller, and so on. And every icon has its own annotation. So we start by creating the packages for the project. We create the first package, entity package, and then the repository package, and then we create the controller package, and finally we create the service package. And then once we do that, we're gonna have all the packages available for us to drag the icons from the left side, whatever type we want, and then drop it in the package. So for example, here in the entity package, we drag the entity icon to the canvas, and we can see here that we had the annotation for @entity. We change the name to person, and we add the property age and name and ID. And for ID, we will have the annotation at ID and at a generated value that will be used by Spring for the database. And for repository, we will be dragging the repository icon, and you can see here also that we changed the name, and you can see also that repository annotation is there. And then for the extend, we're gonna change that to person and long, as we added the ID for the person. And here we are adding any import statements. If you want to include any import statements, this is where you include it on the last icon. As you've seen, you click on it and then you add the import statements. So we starting now by the controller. We are importing person to the controller, and we are auto wiring the person so that it's available for us. And we're creating a function called add person, and this add person will take a person as a parameter, and it will annotate the parameter with @request body. So this is what we're getting in the request to that endpoint. So we add here the get or find person function, and on the parameters we gonna use the annotation of @request body, and we're gonna be receiving a person as we did on the add person. So here we're gonna be adding the annotation for the function. So this is gonna be add post mapping, and we're gonna be calling it add person. We will be adding the find person at post mapping get person. We can also change the return type here to void for the add person, and for the find person we return a person. And you can see here that for the find person we're returning a custom class. So what you do here is you override the default return type by writing it over it. And now for the service, we're going to be adding the node class, and you can see here we're creating the logic here by adding a node class, and then we are giving a parameter for the node class as or property for the node class as person and left and right node. And then we're going to add the functions for get person, the getters and setters for the node class. And we can also include a, like you see here when we hover over the type, it gives you, like, the default types, and if you want to write a custom type, then you highlight whatever is in there and you override it by typing, as we did here, like for person is a custom type, so we changed it from int or void or so, and we write our own type. And on the function logic here, you can see that you can either write English or you can write Java. Sometimes it's easier to just give instructions in Java if you're returning, for example, if you're receiving an integer and you're adding 1 to the integer and you're returning it back, so you can pretty much write the name of the parameter that you get on that you configured on the function parameters, and then you can add the 1 to it and return it. Here we are adding the person tree, and add node and find node. So here this function, it receives a person, and the function logic, this is where you enter here. You can see add person to the tree using the person.name, because we're receiving a person and the parameters, so we know, like CodeyAI will know that a person.name is a property in the person that was passed. We will be using the name as a key. If it exists, update it, and if not, then return null. And here you see you can extend the area where you type the function logic to see the whole thing. So we are adding now the find node function, and we are passing a name, because we're going to be looking up by name, so we don't have to really choose a person and get the name, or we can do that as well. And this is here where you can type, you see return person, if person.name is existing or found in the tree, and if not, then return null. And here you see all the packages and the classes that we created. Here we're gonna change this to add the person tree as well. We're gonna auto-wire person tree, because we're gonna be using it within the classes here. Add auto-wired, and here adding the auto-wired that we did. And they click OK, then it will save it. And you change that to person tree, and the person repo as well. We're gonna be adding the person to the database as we are adding it in the tree. And as we will see when we start writing the function logic for the class application or the main function, we will be seeing that we will add another function, override the run function, which will load up the database to the tree on the startup. and here we can see that, person tree.add node, and we given it the person. So you can see here, it's easier to write sometimes in Java, because, if you start writing this in English, it will be a lot more complicated, or it's sometimes easier to write in Java. As we're Java developer, it will be, some instructions will be easier to write them in Java, some will be easier to write. If you have a complicated logic that you don't want to go through the code, you can pretty much write that in English or in actually any natural language. So you can write it in your own mother tongue, Hindu or Chinese or Arabic or any other language. And here you can see that we're returning the person if we found it. And you can see here also that we have the CodeyAI assistance, that if you're trying to do something and you're not sure how to do it, you can ask CodeyAI assistant here and associate. So for example, here we want to write a function that's, it loads on the once the Spring Boot application starts. So it tells you here that you can override the run function, and that's what we're gonna do at override, and we're gonna create a function. So we're gonna call it from the run function, and this will take, just like the main function, takes string args and return void, and the function logic is just purely calling the load records function. And here we change that to void as well. And here the function logic for that is to call the database and load up the records from the database to the tree. But in our case here, this is not gonna be very working, because we have an H2 database. So once we start, it will just be an empty database. But if you have not an in-memory database, then you can use that program for loading up the database to the tree. So here, as we see, we put we call define all, and we put it in a list. The result we put in a list, and then we give instructions to add record to the person tree. And as you see in here, we create on generate code, and then we downloaded the entire application with all the code that was generated for us. Not only that, but we also can see that there is a test folder which has all the unit tests for the application. And this is for the first iteration. So we're gonna open that in an IDE, and we will go through it to see if there's any errors. And the rule of thumb here, if you change the class, sometimes it will get complicated to change the unit test. So the best way, if you find it getting complicated to correct the unit test, then just delete the unit test, and we will show you what to do from there. Because CodeyAI also have a feature that you can give it a project, a zip project that it will generate the unit test for you for the entire project. So as we see here, we opened up the project in IntelliJ, and we can see here that the person tree have a problem, and then we found that I omitted the entity. When I created the diagram, I made a mistake. I gave it the wrong import statements, so we corrected that. But as we said, this is going to cause the test to fail, because also the test is looking at different packages or the wrong packages name. So I'm correcting that as well. You can go ahead, and if it's simple stuff, you can go ahead and do that. But If it's more complicated, for example, here there was CodeyAI missed the age in the new person, because we only implement persons by age and name. So here we are changing also the person as we created that. This is our mistake, I guess, or my mistake, as I created the when I imported this, when I added the import statements, I made it without the entity package. I just made it the base package plus person, which is the class. So that was my mistake. So that's the problem here. Mock bean has been retired, I guess. So here we're gonna have to use the mock. So this is something that you're gonna also have to go through it and see what to correct. And here CodeyAI give it like a full name in two different entries, but we need the age and not the first name and last name. We need the age and the name. And again, this is just to show you how to use, but here we're gonna delete this as it's getting a little complicated. So we're gonna also delete the from the project, and then we're gonna use the zip the entire project without the unit test, and then we're gonna use the upload project, and you can see here upload project and generate unit test, and then we're gonna choose the zip folder that we created for the project. And this will be sent to CodeyAI. CodeyAI will analyze the code and will generate the unit test again for us. So that's a very useful feature in CodeyAI. And here we're gonna unzip the downloaded project again, and we're gonna open it. It's called project now, so we're gonna open it in IDE. IntelliJ, and we're gonna look at the unit test. Let's see whether we have any problem with it now. So far we have like just a simple problem of the age is missing, so we add that, and here everything is fine, here everything is fine, here everything is fine, and here again it's it confused the which parameter comes first and which comes last, so we correct that, and that's pretty much what it is. Here for the person we're missing the age, and we need to import the person as we didn't import that, and we run the test now. And we can see that the test will pass without any problem. Okay, 2 tests passed, and then we run the person test, and we're gonna also have the 4 functions passing the test, and for the person repo also passed. And finally, for the not test, we are running the test, and all the tests are passing without any issues. So as you can see here that it's a big time saver using CodeyAI for moving your solutions from hand drafted solution to CodeyAI diagrams, and then put all the information that you would in a pseudocode or in English or in pure Java, and then generate the code, and then pretty much getting all the project done for you. So here we run the application, and we try to add a couple of persons and see if it works correctly. So as we see here, we added 2 people and then John, and we're getting them, and you can see here the ID is incremented as we are entering it. And if you query for a person that's not there, then it will return 404. And this is a very good feature in CodeyAI, that you can share your project that you created. So if you created like a component and you want to share it with the team or with the outside world, you can actually do that in CodeyAI, and you can search as well. For example, if you want to look up a binary search tree implementation, you can do that in the public repo. And if you're creating a team project, you have to enter the emails for the team that you want to share it with. For example, here, email at whatever email you want to share it with. And you also include yourself, because if sometimes people create like a prototype and they want to share it with other people, they don't necessarily include themselves. So if you want to need access to the project, you have to include yourself here. And as you can see here on the team project and on the public project, this is a project that we just created. And if you click on it, then you're gonna open it with all the diagrams that you created. With that being said, we concluded this session. We built a binary search tree person connected to a database, and we queried it and get results back. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write to me. Thank you for attending.